I was at the University of Mississippi, which has a really strong literary tradition, and I studied under Barry Hanna. I was friends with Larry Brown. At the time that I was in school, John Grisham was there. Of course, William Faulkner. We can't talk about the University of Mississippi or Oxford without William Faulkner. But so many great writers have come through there. It was really inspirational just being a student there and working there, being someone who's really immersed in a literary culture. It took over, and it was something I was already interested in anyway. So yeah, Oxford's a great place to nurture that, whether you're writing or you're editing or and no matter what kind of writing you're doing, it's a great place for writers.
It's a great honor to be the Poet Laureate, and I've also had some fabulous adventures since that appointment in wild parts of the state, which I have a big map on the wall in my studio, and I'm putting pins in all the places that I went. So I think it's going to be a real education as well as.
It sounds like it's going to be another poem or another book, right?
Oh, I don't know. It doesn't tie together very well in my mind yet.
Well, how do you feel about the Louisiana Book Festival?
Oh, I love it. It is great. I see people walking around. I've done it for years, and so I see people walking around who are so thrilled to meet a writer that they've known, that they've read for years, and maybe never ever even conceived of it being written by a human being. You know, it was just like it was a book. And then on the other side, I see the writers like me who never see the person who reads our books, And so both sides are just so thrilled to see each other that it's a very beautiful thing.
Well, since you're a poet, and that is usually not something most people decide to do in their life, so whatever led you to become a poet? Was it something you did as a child? Has it just always been a passion of yours?
Words were a big deal in my family. My mother was a great storyteller. She was from the Mississippi Delta, where half of the writers in the world have come from. And my father was a preacher. So obviously he was preparing a sermon all week and then standing up in front of people and declaiming. And so I came to it that way. And what really made a poet out of me was I was writing a young adult fiction novel, and I didn't know what I was doing particularly. I'd never written a novel. I've written a lot of children's plays, but I'd never written a novel. Wrote and wrote. On about page 250, it was a very silly story, but the characters had run away with me, and they were doing all sorts of things. Way into my writing this thing, a spider character appears and starts talking, and she was speaking in rhyme. And I wasn't very good at making her, the whole thing had been coming very readily, and all of a sudden, here were these things that had to come out of her mouth, or whatever spider has, and I couldn't do it. And I said, okay, I'm not finishing this, I'm a poet.
Well, speaking of being a poet, why is poetry important in today's world?
Oh, really good reason, particularly now in poetry now it has become more and more oral. So not only do we have this magnificent spoken word movement, slam poets, but also the page poets like me are more and more aware of contemporary speech patterns now. And English these days is picking up vocabulary faster than it ever did. More words are coming into the English language than since the time of Shakespeare.
Really? That's a fascinating story.
and Shakespeare took that wild language that wasn't tamed into a written form, or all the different things didn't go together, and he did a lot of the work, and it's very much the language we still speak, although it sounds archaic to us. It's still very much our English. And now American English, it's what the poets have to do. I mean, it's our work. And it's not conscious, you know, it's not like we're doing it, but that ear for the individual word and the wild new word that's just come into the language. Think of the word sushi, for example. You heard the word sushi? We pronounce it in English, no blip or anything. It's our word, sushi. It's in the dictionary, you know?
Wow.
And it happens in 10 seconds because of the way American English is operating now. And so that's one of the many reasons I think it's important.
I was told just the other day that my second grade report card says that I always wrote long stories, but I think that I was really lucky because one day I was in an English class and we had the option of doing either a traditional academic paper or creative project, and I chose to do the creative project, wrote a bunch of poetry and a little bit of short and flash fiction, which I'd never done before, and the teacher suggested that I attend a summer workshop, and I did so, and I just caught the bug. I had no idea that there was such a thing as a writing workshop.
Wow, you probably didn't even know there was such a thing as getting paid to be a writer at that age.
I still don't know that.
My book is called The Ghost Tree, and it's a children's book, and it's a story that I actually made up for a 3-year-old who was being potty trained.
Oh, my. That is a fascinating story. Whatever brought you to the idea that you were going to write a book?
To be quite honest, I didn't have an idea about writing a book. I was actually playing music up in Maine, and I was staying with a family who had 2 boys, and one of them was in the process of being potty trained. This is such a strange story, but it's true. It was time for him to go, and he refused to go unless I went in there with him.
Oh, my.
So Mom begged and pleaded for me to go in with him, and I did. And he looked at me and he said, he called me Asian lady. And first thing I did was ask, why are you calling me Asian? And his dad said, well, we've been telling them the Cajun lady was coming, and they don't really understand what Cajun is, so they think you're Asian. So he refused to go unless the Asian lady went with him. And then when we were in there, he said, Asian lady, would you tell me a story about Asian land? And so in that restroom on the floor, I made up a story and came home, had a great weekend, and decided to type up the story to send it to the children because it was such a wonderful weekend musically over there. And in the process of doing that, one thing led to another, and before I knew it, I had an illustrator and a publisher and a book.
I just came out with a debut collection of stories, The Miniature Wife and Other Stories, published by Riverhead in January. And it's just odd, strange, short stories that I've put together over the years. They involve some science fiction and some fantasy with a very strong literary undercurrent to them. And I hope they're fun. I try to make them fun and funny and sad and heartbreaking all at the same time.
Well, since you said you dealt with teens, are your books geared towards teens, or are they more of an adult?
They're more of an adult. I was brought here for the teen workshop because at the Tennessee Williams Festival I did a workshop for teens as well. And back in Austin, where I live right now, I'm the director of a nonprofit writing and tutoring center for kids called Austin Batcave. And so I have a lot of experience working with teens and then also elementary and middle school kids with creative writing and just writing in general.
What do you hope to teach them about writing when you go into these workshops?
Well, you know, they're the specific skills that you want to get them to understand, but also I feel like discovering their voice and understanding the power that writing about your story, even if it's a piece of nonfiction or a poem or a piece of fiction, just the power that you gain in taking over that story and manipulating it however you want to manipulate it is a really good thing for you to play around with and figure out. It helps you maneuver through this world a little bit easier, and I feel like anybody who can learn what their voice is and then also learn how to articulate their story will be able to move forward in this world a much more confident and much better prepared citizen, or looking for a job, asking a girl out for a date. Wow. Any sort of, once you have that story or your story and how to tell it, then you can do a lot of things, and so that's what I try and get across.
So you're actually teaching life skills.
That is what we keep telling people, that writing is actually about life as well.
I wrote back in my youth, and then I got away from it, and then around the turn of the 21st century, I got back to it again.
Has it always been a love for you, even as a child, to write and tell stories?
As a child, I was a reader, and I guess that led into, when I got into high school and college, the writing.
Well, as a reader, are you reading any books recently that would be of interest to our viewers?
I'm in my magazine phase, but I'm reading a lot of manuscripts because I'm doing some editing.
Oh, wonderful. So as part of being a writer, you're also an editor as well?
Yes, well, I'm new at that, but I'm giving it a try.
Tell us a little bit about your involvement in this year's book festival in Louisiana.
Let's see, I taught a social media workshop today, and I'm a featured author tomorrow with my co-writer, Deirdre Gogarty.
Well, tell us about what you've written and your co-writer. Tell us a little bit about that book.
Well, I should say I'm her co-writer because she's a female boxer from Ireland who was #1 in the world in 1997, who moved to Louisiana because it was illegal for women to box in Ireland.
Really? That's fascinating. And so you both have written this book about it?
So I helped her write her memoir, and I spent 3 years while I was writing the memoir, writing for Writer's Digest magazine for their blog, and working on the book.
Wonderful. Well, as an author, tell us a little bit about what you're reading right now that might be of interest to people around Louisiana.
Well, one of the reasons I love being here is because I will go home with a trunk full of books. So I have a number of books that I intend to buy. One is Tom Franklin and his wife book, A Tilted World. Let's see, what else? Oh, Wally Lamb is here, and I want to buy his novel, and I've resisted buying them until now because I want to get a signed copy. so I'm looking forward to that. I'm actually, it's funny that we're in a library, and I can't even think of the name of the book, but I'm reading a book right now, a novel, and the protagonist is a librarian. So it was the perfect backdrop for coming to the festival.
I am a university professor, and I have a PhD in literature from Louisiana State University, from the English department there. And so I have been a writer since I was a child. I was very interested in the stories that my parents would tell me, and I would write those down. I thought I would be a lawyer, but I got to Dillard University in New Orleans and realized that I wanted to be an English professor, and so I'm very happy to do that and to analyze literature and film and to make contributions in that way.
We drove from Pineville, stayed overnight. We love the book festival because of all the variety of different things that you can go to, from the history to the culture to the music and the food. It's all here. Activities for kids as well as for adults. We enjoy coming here. It's one of the great treasures of Louisiana.
I came with a school group from 5th Ward Elementary in St. James, Louisiana, and we're here to enjoy the festival. We brought several students and parents with us.
What do you think of it so far?
Oh, we've having a good time. The children are enjoying it. It's been really interesting. That's our first trip here.
What's your favorite part of the book festival?
The books, of course.
We drove here from New Iberia. My daughter, Ethne, won an award, second place, from the Louisiana Writes competition in French nonfiction. And we come to the book festival as often as we can. We love it. It's a great day.
What's your favorite part of the festival?
Oh, well, I can tell you what I'm most looking forward to. William Joyce is going to be here at 2:15.
I am here with my son enjoying the Louisiana Book Festival, and I'm excited about all the writers that are here and the festivities that's going on. It's a beautiful day, and I'm enjoying it.
What kind of an influence does this have on young children?
I think this is going to be a great influence, teaching them the importance of reading, aspiring to be writers if that's their desire, and just seeing how people come together to enjoy a good read.
I come from South Korea. Maybe this is good festival because the weather is good. So in Saturday and weekend, we are always stay home or church, but this festival we go out for some rest. It's good for our family.
Actually, I came to see some of my friends get some awards. They were students that earned first, second, and third place in the Louisiana Writes Contest.
What do you think of the book festival so far?
I'm loving it. The weather's great. People are friendly. It's wonderful.
I came to New Orleans from the book festival. I came out here because I love to read. I love the environment and stuff. I love reading books.
What's your favorite part of the festival?
Hearing the speakers, the lectures, and the Capitol.
I'm from Iberville, and I'm here at the book fair because my aunt's a writer, and they came over for the weekend, and we always come to this book fair, and it's really nice.
What do you like the most about it?
I don't know. The fact that it's not a library, but it's fun that there's so many options. We get to walk around and just have fun.
I drove from Destrehan to come here because I enjoy books and I enjoy literature and I enjoy talking to very creative people who write literature.
What's your favorite part of the festival?
Favorite part of the festival is the authors and the speaking that they're doing up there as they're going through their books and answering questions and things like that, interacting with the authors.
We're checking out the books. This is my first time coming to the book festival, and we're really looking forward to it. I found some postcards with my name on it, so I think that we'll be picking up some of those and also seeing what some of the local authors are putting out.
What's your favorite part of the festival?
So far, it's been the rare books. That's really been special.
What is your advice to people that like to become authors?
Just write it first. You know, that people want to talk about agents and publishing houses, but I think it's so difficult now to write a book and get it published. I think you just write the book, and then you have some ammunition to go forth with.
Your reaction to the book festival?
No, it's always great. You know, this is one of the reasons that we keep young people reading, and we make old people such as myself happy to have read for a lifetime. Things like this need to survive. And besides that, the more you read, the smarter you get.
I don't think anybody ever said it better than Ernest Gaines did, who is one of my real heroes in this business or art or whatever you want to call it. It's all of those things. He said, if you want to write, read, 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 and then write, write, write. And I think that's correct.
My stock answer to that actually is if you can stop writing, you probably should, because it'll drive you crazy. But if you can't not stop writing, just keep writing. You know, keep a continuity, write something every day. Just think of yourself as a writer, and you know, if you can think of yourself as a scientist or a businessman, you know, an economist, that's great too. And I understand the bug of writing. If you can't walk away from it, just keep writing.
Anytime you have an idea, write it down as soon as you can. Anything can distract you and you may forget the idea later, but we now have telephones that we can jot down notes, or we have telephones in which we can record our own voices and make sure that we have our ideas handy and then go back and follow up on that. If the spirit hits you, go with it.
The hardest thing is just to get words on the page. If you're doing anything else, research, observing, whatever, it's easy to think like it's writing. It's not unless words are appearing on the page. And I wrote my book in 15 minutes a day, because with my condition, that's about as long as I can sit still. So I'd also say, if you are not writing because you can't conform to Ernest Hemingway's schedule or something, get over it. If you write a paragraph a day, enough days go by, you've at least got a book-length mess to work with.
Write, and write what you know, and get a good editor. If you're going to self-publish something, hire an editor, because you really need one.
First thing I always tell people is that you are your first reader. And you write these things, you should write them for your enjoyment. You should write them to make yourself laugh or make yourself feel heartache or sad. Because if you can't make yourself interested in what you're writing, then it's going to be hard to make anybody else interested. But then also, I think that it's a way to deal with whatever you've got going on, to express happiness or sadness. And it's what kids do right now anyway. They just do it in these small nuggets through Twitter Twitter or Facebook status updates, and it's that same kind of writing, and you just string together more words.
Work hard, work on your craft, revise, 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 and don't quit your day job.
The most common advice, I suppose, is that you have to persist, but the advice that I've been trying to follow lately is to listen to myself. We're all a little bit crazy, and some of those voices that we tend to quiet down can make for really great characters.
Yeah, I think my suggestion would be just do it, just jump right in, don't be afraid, and just put something on the paper. Like I said, I teach a songwriting class, and that's the thing that I want my students most to do, is just to get that channel open and flowing, and just whatever it is, put it down on the paper, good or bad. You'll be surprised what comes out sometimes.
I grew up reading. It's the way you not only further your knowledge, but also the way that you are able to learn what's going on in this world. So I just encourage anybody that has a sense of wanting to write things down to do it, whether it's about your family, your experiences, or even, for those great fiction writers that have the ability to make up wonderful stories. I think it's a great thing, not only on the author side, but also for all your readers out there. So I encourage everybody to jump in.
I'm sure there are a lot of people who would want to give advice about how to get an agent or find a publisher. And my advice is not that kind of advice. My advice is about remembering to do writing from the hedonistic art of loving words, and that loving to read is its own reward, and the joy of writing is its own reward. And if you remember where you come from and believe in what you're doing and work hard enough, good things can happen. But don't write for the good things. Write because you love it.
One of the hardest things to do is to write, and what I mean by that is to write even if you're writing badly, and just to put your butt in the chair, as they say, and to stick with it, to set up some sort of program for yourself, however it works, and to maximize the time that you have to actually write.
And people will come to me wanting to be a poet. As the teacher of poetry, they want me to tell them how to do it. And if you do these 10 things, then you will produce a poem. And I think that's what a lot of people think when they start off, but it's a little like riding a bicycle, You have to do it by doing it. And you have to read a lot, and you have to write a lot. And you have to read contemporary poetry too. You read contemporary poetry, you write what you're thinking. You read, you write, you read, you write. And then at some point you become fascinated with learning the craft itself, and then you do that. Meanwhile, your poems are getting a little better, a little better, a little better, a little better. But also, I say, nobody comes to a piano teacher and says, make me a concert pianist.
That's true.
You say you have to practice. I'm sorry, you're going to have to practice a whole lot, but then you'll get there.
I love this book festival. It's really, I've been to a number of them across the South, working on this series, and it's a great festival. Everybody who I talk to is really engaged. It brings out the entire community. Jim does a really incredible job putting this together with his staff, and I don't know, and being in this setting. Tomorrow we're going to be in the Senate chamber, and to be in that building, it's an honor. We love it. We come back every year, and I think it's great. These kinds of festivals are great for communities. They really are. They bring communities together, and they're very democratic in that everyone comes to these things, and they're very welcoming for everybody in the entire community. So, and I think that's important. It brings everyone together.
I have been a fan of this festival for years, and I've come here as a fan of many authors, and so I'm honored to be here as an author this year. But I hope the word really gets out about the Louisiana Book Festival, because I don't think people realize the esteemed authors that you have every year. And so I am working, I do social media a lot. I spread the word about it as much as I possibly can, because it is my favorite festival in Louisiana.
It's such a jubilant celebration of literature, and I feel like it's rare these days, especially the economy being what it has been lately, that people invest in the arts. And this is to me, one of the most fundamental aspects of being human, you know, this sort of creative expression. And it's just a joy to be at an event where so many people, both the creators and the sort of consumers or observers, are coming together. I like the fact that it brings readers and writers together in celebration of the art.
I was here for the very first book festival. Wow. And I am just addicted to books. I believe in actually having books where I can turn pages and cuddle up with them in my bed and write notes in the margins and really sort of engage and interact with books. And so book festivals are great. You cannot do that with just an iPad or something. You can't have an iPad festival. So I love the idea of a book festival.
I think it's great. It's my first one. I plan on coming back. Hopefully I'll be able to bring some of my bearded brethren down next time, and we'll keep making this a big event. We're excited about it.
This is my first time at the Louisiana Book Festival, and my first time to spend any time really in Baton Rouge, and it's been great. It's such a genial, warm atmosphere. Everybody's been very welcoming, and I've had a great time so far. It's good. It's a good festival.
I'm a huge fan, and obviously my viewpoint is a little biased since we sponsor this event, but there's a great degree of enthusiasm. Book lovers, literature lovers love this festival, and there's food, there's music, there's a traditional festival atmosphere, but it's all centered around the written word and Louisiana authors in particular. So we celebrate Louisiana's great literary legacy with this festival, and it gives the opportunity for Louisianians to come out and talk to people who write the books that they love to read and listen to.
Amazing. Every year it gets more and more awesome. Every year more people, more things that we bring forward to the people. I don't think we could not have a book festival. I think the people would be knocking on our door saying, "Where's the book festival?"
If people have questions like more information for next year, what should they do?
We have an ongoing website, www.louisianabookfestival.org, and on Monday we start planning the 2014 Louisiana Book Festival.
But LouisianaTravel.com is our travel website, our tourism website. There are links there to the State Library, which sponsors this event, and the foundation that supports the library that sponsors the event. But it'll be back next year.